This is Kent Williams, Oxbow Guide Service, Oxbow Jigs, and I've got a few fish here I'm going to fillet, and I'm going to show everyone how I fillet fish with a manual knife. You see the knife there, made by Rada Cutlery. It's about a, I don't know, 8 or 9 inch blade, good flexible blade. So what I do, take my crappie, and the first thing I do is stick my fingers under the gill plate, the knife's real sharp, and I'm going to make a first cut right in behind this little piece of bone at the back of the gill plate. So I'm going to cut into that, and there's my initial cut. Once I get it cut, I'm going to turn the knife over. And what I'm going to do, if you'll look at the top of the spine, you can see the indentation or the black mark where the top of the back is, where the fins start. I'm actually going to take my knife right down along through that. And as I do that, I'm going to go in, you'll see the knife stop. And sometimes you can hear the bone. Not breaking any, but I'm just using a light sawing action. What I'm doing is feeling the rib cage. And I can feel that rib cage right there. And I'm trying to find the spot where the rib cage ends. Right there it is. So the rib cage on this fish ends about where my finger is, about right there. Once I get to that point, I'm going to take that knife and go kind of turn it downward. You can see my hand coming up, put a little pressure, but I'm going to take it all the way through the fish. And then I'm going to take and just follow the contour of the backbone all the way down to the tail. Now, I'm not going to cut through the tail. I try not to do that. Once I get that done, I'm going to raise the fillet up. You hear that sound. Now, what I'm doing is dragging the top of the rib cage. And I usually just do it 2 or 3 times. But I'm going to keep lifting that fillet. You see I'm holding the fillet up. And I'm going to keep lifting. And I'm going to cut out over the top of the rib cage. And then I'm going to use just the tip of the knife, and I'm going to go turn it back down. You see my knife's at a downward angle. And I'm going to drag the top of that rib cage, and I'm going to take that meat off the rib cage until I get right down in here. I hope you can see this, but there's an opening. That's where the ribs actually stop. And you can see that's the insides, that's the stomach portion. Once I get it to there, I'm going to take my knife and just cut right along the bottom of where I've trimmed it out. And I'm going to lay the fillet over. And once I lay the fillet over, I'm going to put my knife under there and go right between the skin and the meat. Take this fillet off. And here's what I've got. Nice clean fillet. So what's the advantage of doing this the hard way, the old way? Well, with an electric knife, a person normally goes in and cuts through the rib cage, and then they have to cut the rib cage out. Well, you can see, I hope, this little white shiny piece. This is part of that's the back of the rib cage right there. So that piece of meat right there, you would lose, because it'd be cut right here. With a manual knife, you can save that piece of rib meat. It's one of my favorite. When you fry this fillet, the top portion's nice and tender and flaky, and this fries up pretty crisp because it is a lot thinner. And it's just my way of doing it. Have any questions, hit me on Facebook, let me know.